Welcome aboard the Seaview, gentlemen. I'm Irwin Allen, the producer and sometimes writer-director of this new series. I was just checking into a few of our future segments. If you'll just look over my shoulders, we'll take a peek into the future. Come on.
The place, somewhere in the American desert. In a complex more than 800 stories beneath the desert floor, the United States government has been spending billions of dollars on a top-secret project involving more than 12,000 specialized personnel living in their own self-contained city.
Ever seen anything like this before in your life?
The mission. As scientific director of the complex, Doug Phillips heads a team trying to be the first to send a man into time and return him without harm.
The control of time is potentially the most valuable treasure that man will ever find.
The problem, the project has yet to accomplish its objective. The government is threatening to cut off any further funds, thus jeopardizing the hopes and dreams of the dedicated thousands who work here. The solution. Assistant director of the complex, brash young Dr. Tony Newman, proposes a radical acceleration of the program to force the issue and extend the government's commitment.
You mean today?
Absolutely not.
We just give up, is that it? We put our lives into this project.
I'm not going to commit murder, and I'm not going to allow you to commit suicide just to satisfy a budget. That's no answer. That's not even science.
His ideas rejected by his peers, Tony decides to take matters into his own hands and send himself into the time tunnel.
This is a red alert. Red alert. All time tunnel personnel report to their stations on the double. Red alert. Red alert. This is a red alert. Red alert. All time tunnel personnel report to their stations on the double.
Doug, can't you stop him?
Not now, he'd burn alive. George, start the countdown.
14, 13.
Pray that it works. All right, start a location probe. Jerry, see if you can synchronize the time probe. Ray, give us a power and distance picture. And find what specific radiation Tony used.
I'll try.
Tony just finished developing a radiation bath. That was the blue mist you saw just before he disappeared. Now, in theory, this should give us a magnetic fix, like a homing device, to enable us to locate him in time.
Doc, we've collated the automatic settings that Tony used. The energy he employed could not have sent him more than 100 years forward or back in time. Probably less.
And reduce your limits. Ray.
I know, Doc. I'm beginning to get some irregular coordination.
Unless we can return him here or to some other time zone within seconds, we'll kill him. That's what you're thinking, isn't it?
Not exactly. We have a friend that's in danger. You're trying to protect me from that danger. I appreciate that. Tony's risking his life to succeed where I failed. Now, if we don't have the faith in what we're doing here and the guts to back up that faith...
You let me go if our positions were reversed?
Probably not. I'd turn Tony down. But I'm hoping you're tougher than I am.
Prepare your briefing procedure.
Ray, you'll be calling the scientific shots from this end. Don't gamble unless you have to, but if you do have to, go for broke. Don't worry.
16, 15.
In the hope of saving his friend's life, Doug joins in the greatest adventure in the history of man.
7, 6, 5, 4,
3, 2, 1, 0. But as he joins his friend, something goes wrong.
Can we establish any limits?
Out with Strickland.
Hurry, they're dying!
Accelerate power.
Two men tumbling helplessly through time. Their lives at the mercy of the events of yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
Well, wherever he and Doug are now, at least they're together.
If we do this, you realize we may never regain contact with any of them again.
Switch them.
Now, Doug and Tony must rely on their colleagues and friends to find them and bring them home.
From the man who brought you Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, Lost in Space, The Time Tunnel, and Land of the Giants. Now comes the fantasy worlds of Irwin Allen, featuring clips from your favorite TV shows.
Two American scientists are lost in the swirling maze of past and future ages during the first experiments on America's greatest and most secret project, the Time Tunnel. Tony Newman and Doug Phillips now tumble helplessly toward a new fantastic adventure somewhere along the infinite corridors of time.
The fall of 1966 was a good time for sci-fi and fantasy addicts. Voyage was still going strong, as was Lost in Space, now, believe it or not, holding its own opposite Batman. Even Star Trek made its debut that year on NBC. But on Friday nights, right after the Green Hornet on ABC, we could catch the adventures of Dr. Tony Newman, played by James Darren, and Doug Phillips, played by Robert Colbert. As with every Irwin Allen production, the pilot, titled Rendezvous with Yesterday, was carefully planned and storyboarded. Compare these sketches for the opening sequence with the version as it appears in the final film.
This is a red alert. Red alert. All time tunnel personnel report to their stations on the double.
Irwin would go to any length to make it look exactly like what the storyboard was. So when I saw what Irwin had storyboarded, and then eventually saw this incredible set, which was exactly like the storyboard, but grand, of course, it was breathtaking. It helped you in your character. You fantasized and you were there.
To devise the look of the series' most important set, the tunnel itself, Irwin employed virtually every graphic artist and designer he knew, eventually settling on this design.
So that's the monster that's cost us all this money, hmm?
It was enormous. It took 2 sound stages. It had a hypnotic effect, and just as the characters were drawn into the tunnel and taken back into time or forward into time, so was the audience.
Former Miss America and former big screen Catwoman Lee Merriweather played Dr. Anne McGregor, along with John Zaremba as Dr. Raymond Swain and Whit Bissell as Lieutenant General Haywood Kirk.
We're looking back into time to what's happening.
It's a fascinating idea. Can it possibly exist? Can there be somebody floating around somewhere in that thing we call time?
I'm one of the men in charge of the station. You must be new here. I'm Dr. Newman. I'm back.
I've been here 14 months, mister. I never heard of any Dr. Newman.
14 months? But I've been here every day for the past 7 years.
Now, what's the problem, soldier?
Jiggs? Jiggs, it's me, Dr. Newman.
Newman?
I never heard of any Newman around here. What are you talking about? You know me. Tony Newman.
The pilot episode, which Irwin directed, had a very good feel about it. And once I got into it and realized even more about what this whole time travel thing was about and how interesting it could be week after week, then it became intriguing to me.
I mean, when you're in Krakatoa one day, you're on the moon the next. We had the finest stages, the finest sets, the finest location shots. And from our close-up vantage point, it was all so classy and so well done.
Minus 45. Launch minus 40 and counting.
It's a rocket. Tony, if this is one of those early Canaveral jobs, we could be blown up right here on the pad.
Titanic.
We will kill Abraham Lincoln.
I couldn't wait for what might happen next week. Script-wise, you know, something come in, we would travel to the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, or whatever it might be.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
What we are does not matter. We are here to destroy you.
But as the settings and situations offered the viewers visual variety, some felt that the format of the show was becoming predictable.
This is going to be hard for you to understand. But we're time travelers.
Captain, you've got to believe me. You are under arrest.
Arrest?
What do you want with us? We've done nothing to you.
How dare you insult my intelligence with a wild tale of traveling in time?
You could look at it and say, my God, this is going to be the same thing every week. But I think the stories that took place, the little personal stories of the people involved in those scripts, I think that's what made it interesting to us as actors.
Something's very wrong with their timetable. I don't know what it is, but it's wrong. I was always there fixing it. I think I probably made more mistakes than anyone else on the show as far as losing them and not being able to track them.
What happened to your time fix?
I don't know. It's supposed to be midday. We acted a lot to little sticks with little round circles and faces drawn on them. For one would be Jimmy and one would be Bob. and we would pretend that they were in some sort of peril usually. Our only problem was in finding out exactly what kind of danger were they in.
Of course, not every episode stuck to the same formula. In The Day the Sky Fell Down, one of the best and most dramatic episodes of the series, Tony and Doug land at Pearl Harbor on the eve of the Japanese attack. Here, Tony encounters his own father, knowing that he will soon be a casualty.
Have we met before? Yes. Many years ago.
This situation within that horrible thing at Pearl Harbor was what was interesting to me as an actor, to go there and to see myself as a child.
Can Billy and me stay up later tonight? Can we, Daddy?
It seems to me.
And then to see my dad, who I had not seen since that time because, of course, he was killed in Pearl Harbor.
Tony Newman, I know you. I know you as well as I know my own son.
I am your son.
It's good to know my little boy will survive.
Of course, it wasn't all work and no play for the Time Tunnel's support staff.
What is this place?
Occasionally, even Lee Merriweather and Whit Bissell got into the action.
I was thrown back in time to the French Revolution. And I played the part of a French officer who was an ancestor of mine.
Louis the 17th? No, I will not permit it! Oh, it's impossible. My ancestors came from Scotland, not from France.
Only you must admit it's a rather startling resemblance. was kidnapped by Victor Jory, playing a pirate, and I was just, in the heat of the moment, you know, jammed up against the side of a set. Oh, my nylons were all running and blood was running down my leg. I still carry a couple of scars from from the set.
Of course, getting Tony and Doug to different exotic and historical locales every week didn't come cheap. But when things got tight, Irwin could always take advantage of 20th Century Fox's vast library of stock footage.
When we had Khyber riflemen, we had 20,000 Khyber riflemen, see. We didn't just have 6 guys out of the stunt union coming out there riding old nags. We had some great stock footage shots.
I thought it was intercut beautifully. It made the production look like it was 5 times as costly as what it actually was. I mean, that fools people today.
He was a pioneer. He was a man who always knew what was going on all of his sets, all of his scripts, all of his writers, directors, crews, cast. He was the consummate professional producer.
All right. Irwin, you know, he was all right. He was a very sensitive man. He hired good people, and that's why they've stuck with him all those years, because they could relate to almost anything he did, even though it's fantasy. But fantasy, we live in fantasy more than we live in reality. And I think that's why there was always a place for an Irwin Allen.
Although The Time Tunnel was one of Irwin's personal favorites, it lasted just 1 season. And despite the fact that there were only 30 episodes produced, it continues to be an audience favorite around the world. Irwin Allen really was ahead of his time.
The Time Tunnel.